Hello world, this is Random Fix. In this video today we're going to be swapping out the electric motor and the actual circuit board here on this Maxx Air Fan. So if you're having an issue, and I'll show you what it does, make sure you guys stay tuned because I'm going to show you guys how to swap this out in record time and also show you guys how to prevent this from happening again. Stay tuned. Just because it's got a little hiccup, so on my fan here everything looks like it's working fine, and unless you're running it at 10%, it will go ahead and just start doing some really weird things. So let me show you guys this. Here it goes, guys. It'll go ahead and turn off by itself, followed by this series of beeps, and that can get really annoying in the middle of the night. So in this video today, I'm going to be replacing the board right here and also the motor. If you want to go ahead and do this from the inside, you would go ahead and remove the 4 screws here. This frame comes down and you would basically turn this and remove the screen by doing all 4 of these and get access to the screws here. I actually want to make this a lot easier, so I'm going to do this from the top, but you could do it whichever way you want. On top, there's only going to be a total 2 screws on this side and 2 screws on this side, and the whole fan will just go ahead and pop out. You do want to make sure that the lid is all the way open before we go up top here. Once the fan is out, I can go ahead and replace the board. I'm going to go ahead and also bulletproof the board here. I'm going to replace that motor since Maxx Air sent me both components here under warranty, and this happened after about 3 months of use. So I'm really looking forward to getting this done because I have a little trip coming up. So let's go jump on top of the vehicle and get this out. Okay, so we are here on top of the van, and I just happened to climb my ladder. If you don't have ladders on the side of your van, you're going to have to just use a regular household ladder and make sure you don't damage your van. And we want access to this screw and this screw right over here. So you want yourself a shorty little Phillips screwdriver like this, and go ahead and undo this here and here. And once you're done with this side, you would want to go ahead and hop over to the other side. And I always recommend getting each side loose before you completely remove both sides, in case there's an issue. You're not going to drive around with a hole in your roof, so take your time and just loosen both sides up and then remove it. So I'm on the passenger side here, and I loosen this up and the forward one. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the forward one and the rear one completely. And with all 4 screws loose, I'm going to go ahead and just remove the fan out of here now. You want to make sure you don't pull up on the lid. You want to pull up on the side here instead. And that side came loose, as well as this side here. So this fan is loose now. I'm going to completely remove it and put it on a bench, and then we're going to go ahead and replace those components. In my case here, the wire is kind of short, and I did not make a quick connection because I did not think I needed it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and figure out where this wire is tangled. If you need to, you could go ahead and do anything you need to do to make your configuration work. But in my case, I'm going to go ahead and remove the screen and get access to the board so I can see what's holding this from coming off completely. And one thing I did do is I went ahead and used this knob here to go ahead and contract the fan now that I need access to the back area. I'm going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws right in here to get access to this outer trim. Remove the screw that's holding the knob in. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and make a cut right here, and use a quick connector that I'm going to put in. If you have any live power running through here, go ahead and pull the fuse, and when you're cutting, go ahead and cut through one lead at a time if you haven't already built yourself a quick connector. So here's the brand new board that I got as a replacement, and as we can see, it comes with plenty of cable. So I'm going to show you guys where I'm going to cut this so I give you guys the best advice. So we're here inside the hole, and it's better to go ahead and cut this a little bit longer than cut it a little too short. So I'm going to go ahead and snip here. So I went ahead and detached my fan completely from the power source. The fuse is pulled out, and I'm going to go ahead and fix the rest of this on the bench here. So we got the fan here. I did put it on top of a little cloth so I don't damage the plastic here, and I've gone ahead and removed the 4 screws here, here, and here, and then I've also removed the screw that actually held the knob in place, which was the shorter one right here, and obviously this just pops off, and now we have access to that board, and the board unclips right here, and you just have to undo the zip tie right here. And with that unclipped, I can go ahead and lift up just like this. Now we can see we have access to the actual board here. And one thing you do want to keep note of is the connections here. They cannot be put in the wrong way, so don't really worry about that, or try to go ahead and keep track of that. So to remove the board off the trim here, I just need to go ahead and remove these 3 Phillips screws right here. However, before I go ahead and do that, I'm going to go ahead and bulletproof the new board that I got here. So I went ahead and just used some masking tape here to go ahead and cover up any place where it's going to make a contact. So up here and the 2 ports in the front. And now I'm going to go ahead and use this conformal coating here to go ahead and treat this board here with 2 or 3 applications, and that way I don't go ahead and have this issue down the line. And there's another issue with this fan is where it actually collects water right here in the little sensor area. So once I remove the board, I'm going to go ahead and grab a little tiny drill and make a small hole, so if there's any condensation that ever sits in there, it will go ahead and drip out and not ruin the board again. So I went ahead and also covered up the sensor here, and after about 2 or 3 coats, you're going to be good to go. And one thing I did want to mention is if you're worried about having to undo the really good installation from factory on the temperature sensor here, that is actually unclippable. So I'll show you guys that a little bit later. And while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the motor. And this is my new motor right here that I'm going to be putting in. So it just has a little clip, and to undo it you need an Allen key. It's pretty small size. I think it's probably a 2.5 or a 3 millimeter. And once I go ahead and do that, the fan's going to go ahead and pop out. And then there's a couple of zip ties that actually hold the wire in place right here. And then the wire will go right through here. However, on the top part, there's going to be 2 screws that are going to be mounted here and here that I'm going to have to undo to get access to being able to put this cable back towards the motor. So let me go ahead and show you guys how to do this. So go ahead and turn this, and once you give this about 3 turns, this is just going to go ahead and slide off. There it goes. Now it's completely off. Here's the fan. Now I want to go ahead and undo this zip tie here and zip tie here. Next, I want to go ahead and use the knob here to go ahead and lift the fan up so I get access to the 2 screws in here. And so you really need a short screwdriver to get access to those, and that will allow this to go ahead and back up through there so we can get it onto the motor. And lastly, we could go ahead and undo these 2 bolts that hold the motor in place. So I completely did the screw on the fan side here, and somewhat loosened up the other side here, this screw, and this allows me to go ahead and now drop that connector right through there. And now I just have to undo these two. So these two nuts right here are going to be 8 millimeters. And with the 8 millimeter nuts removed, this is just going to go ahead and slide out of place. You do not want to drop this, as it may break your lid or fracture it. So there it goes. It is out. So now I'm just going to do a quick little comparison on the two motors here. You can see that this one was manufactured in 2020 right here, and this is manufactured in 2021. And the shaft where the locking washer or this spring washer's sitting is the same exact spot. Everything lines up. I'm going to go ahead and put in my new motor now. And with the motor back in place, I got it somewhat loose. I'm going to start putting the zip ties back in. I've run the cable back through the top section right here, the screws back in. So I want to go ahead and tighten everything up and get everything in order, and then we can go ahead and start putting the fan back on. Zip ties are back in, screws are tightened, clip is run. Now we're going to go ahead and slap the fan in. Don't forget to tighten up the screws and do not over torque them. So when you're putting the fan back in, you want to look at that shaft. You can see it's actually not perfectly circular. So we want to put that Allen key screw sight right against that flat area. If you see it right there. And that way it'll go ahead and hold. Just like that right there. With the fan back in, the Allen key tightened, I'm going to go ahead and lower the lid back down. And I'll have a link to anything that I use in the video description box down below. With my conformal coating drying here, I went ahead and loosened up these 4 screws here. I am going to be using the same temperature sensor here. So you can see this is insulated really well. And I don't want to undo all that. So I'm going to go ahead and undo the temperature sensor here. And the sensor just clips out if you push on the very bottom right here with the flat tip screwdriver. And there it is. Sensor's out now. I went ahead and undid the zip tie right here too. That way that wire's out of there. And let's go ahead and remove this board completely out. Then once you get the 3 screws out, you're going to notice that it's connected to the button board right there. So you want to go ahead and pull that black connector straight back. Just take your time. And there it goes. The board is out now. And this is another spot right here where the water will sit. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some silicone behind it and in front of it. So that way we could try to go ahead and waterproof that best as possible. As well as making that small little hole here through this little clear section where the sensor is. So you want to grab your drill and just drill from this side down so you don't have to worry about damaging anything else. And that hole is made. So this is the sealant that I got here. I got it from AliExpress. It was like $1.99 or something. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get it on the back side as well as any other spot where it could go ahead and collect water. So here's my completely dried board. I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape off any of the sensitive areas. And with that done, I'm going to go ahead and plug it back into that trim piece. So when you're putting this back together, make sure you have the little rubber washers from your previous board, and also make sure you line up that little tiny sensor right in that hole. And obviously mine has a little hole now, so that nothing will go ahead and sit in there. So I cannot wait to try this out. And this is the perfect time to go ahead and make sure you got all 4 feet in If you don't have them in, you want to go ahead and drop them in before you put the 4 screws in here, 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 and then the knob will go right here with the shorter screw. So I got the board back in here, and I've went ahead and made my connection here for the fan, also for the lift motor, and I went ahead and plugged in the temperature sensor, which was back here. I used the old temperature sensor wires right here. All the wires are out of actually the track where this is going to go ahead and rest, so I don't have to be worried about that. I'm going to go ahead and drop in those 4 screws and tighten these up. So I've reinstalled the screen here. The small screw went right in here, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. And be careful not to over tighten this, as this is going to be aluminum and you can easily strip it. You want to go ahead and tuck in all the cables basically into the channeling right here. So when you put this in, you're not going to go ahead and cut anything off. So take your time and make sure everything's within the track. If you have to go ahead and use a little tape to keep it in place, use a little tape. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and zip tie some of these together so that way everything holds nice and tight. And before I pop this in the vehicle, I'm going to go ahead and bench test this. So let's go ahead and turn this up to 100%. And that's working, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and let this run at 50% here for about 10 minutes. While this is running here on the bench test, I'm going to go ahead and get the wires down here ready so I can go ahead and attach them. And there they are, the 2 wires. I'm going to go ahead and use my wire strippers here and these wire nuts, so they make it really easy. Remember that the black is positive and the white is negative on this. They're just going to go ahead and slide into here, and then the fan side will go here. So if I ever have to do this in the future, it's going to be a million times easier. I never expected to do this repair within the very first year, but I'm glad that I'm getting this done now. We've been trying to shoot the flies. No flies. However, the fan is working. No more beeping. This is awesome. Let's go ahead and put it back in. If you guys found this video to be helpful and it helped you fix your Maxx Air Fan, make sure you guys give that video a thumbs up, as it really lets YouTube know that I'm bringing you guys valuable content. It would mean the world to me as well. Thanks. So I got the screws in from the top. The corner back screw right here on the passenger side is a little hard to actually put in. So you can't actually push down on the top of the unit, but what you can do is remove the screen, have somebody down here pull with both fingers here and right here, and you can line that screw up, and then afterwards you can go ahead and put the screen on. But this is looking good. I'll show you guys how it looks from the top, and I'm really happy that I did this. And then lastly, I'll go ahead and throw the screen on here. That way we can go ahead and protect any fingers from getting hurt by the fan blade. And from the top, just make sure you got everything nice and tight. Don't use any power tools. And you're all good. Let me show you guys from the inside now. So here it is, guys. It is all done. %100% power and no issues. If you guys want to check out the whole playlist here on the van build, please do so below. I really appreciate you guys watching. If the video is helpful, give it a thumbs up. And if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing, because anytime I post videos like this that are aimed to save you time and money, that you will get notified. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.